Welcome everyone to Cup of TCG. This is our first video so far. There is going to be more content on the way. My name is Kyle. I'm joined by my other co-compadres, co-fucking idiots, in Aiden, who is below me, and Callum, who is below him. And, well, Uprising is just coming out, and we've been hyped as shit for all of the preview season cards. This is our second preview season. We skipped Aria, didn't we, because we joined just as it released. Did Everfest, and that was a bit of a... Yeah,
Dreadball was good, huh?
Don't you
Silver Palms. Official Silver Palms puller, by the way.
Yeah, literally. I can't...
boxes, one Silver Palms.
Was that the only legendary you pulled?
It was the only, yeah.
And I pulled a fucking Stalag from the participation pack for our ProQuest.
Yeah,
get it! So we thought this would be a good opportunity for us to kick off the channel and jump into what our opening thoughts are of Uprising before it comes out. So today is the first day in Madrid. We've got a couple of friends who are out there now from our LGS, and they're playing in the event. And this is the only real first view that we've had of what the cards are actually like in game. And I don't think we've done any like insane meta drafting and like working out what decks look like as of yet. Aiden, I think you dabbled a bit, right? But
I've made an attempt. I feel like Dromar is going to be a struggle, so I've made a head start. T minus 13 days to release, and I'm literally this bitch.
Callum, is there any decks that you're kind of looking at? I know you're the resident Runeblade player, aren't you? And like warrior and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, I'm thinking probably not going to play any of these Uprising decks. I'm going to be looking at what existing decks attack these new decks, I reckon. Mainly because I don't want to spend the money, to be honest.
Fair enough. Are you going to be getting any like boosters or like packs or anything?
I'm hoping to play the pre-release, and then
next week.
You never know. Maybe if I'm feeling spicy, I'll buy a box. But I unless I get some like crazy one class box, I don't see myself building any of the classes. But should be fun.
On the flip side, Aiden, is it 2 case you got this time around or just the one?
Oh, just the one.
Oh, okay.
Just the one.
just the one case.
Now.
Until
the pools are weak, and then forces you into getting it.
Exactly. Yeah, you know.
Silver Palms round 2.
Aiden, I suppose we talked about Callum's classes. What's your kind of main area of expertise? Would you say when it comes down to Flesh and Blood? Like what classes have you played? What ones have been your favourite? Before we get into it,
lads.
Might you call yourself a jack of many trades rather than a master of one currently?
Call myself a jack of one Starvo.
Rest in peace.
So my experience in Fab, I would say, is mainly in Brute, which obviously is completely irrelevant here, bar Erase Face, Guardian specifically, Starvo, in which case I can look at colours, guys, and I can put shapes in matching holes, you know, and then Illusionist is where I first delved into Fab. So now with the new Illusionist, I'm hoping to make Dromar work with that experience. Yeah.
And I'm the only person here who has a hero that's not Living Legends. So let's go.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I'm the resident
What
Lexi
drinks we got, guys? What drinks a Cup of TCG got in their cups?
Ironically, not tea, which is kind of the joke.
Me neither.
I've got a nice Coke in a Bambi glass. Shout out to
Bambi
glass.
Dude, look at the fucking glass. There we go.
I think that might help.
Thanks, Disney.
To be honest, mate.
We got some manly cups.
I've got about a tenth of Ribena in an LGBT cup.
It's Pride.
It's Pride month, man. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's on brand.
What you got, Callum? You repping Pride? You repping Bambi?
I'm channeling my inner Vin Diesel, and I've got a Corona.
Go,
there we go. It's all about family. Cool. Well, let's get involved. Let's start this one. So,
we'll edit this out.
It's only 5 minutes. I mean, this video is going to be long anyway. We were originally thinking about doing an overall tier list for every single card. Then we realised that's going to be a 3-hour-long video, and we're just going to waffle for 4 hours on top of that. And no one wants to watch a 2.5-hour tier list other than Aiden. So we thought let's break it down. Let's do something a little bit more robust, easy digestible. We say that, and this intro's an hour long. And we've got 3 categories. So we've got our top 5 most underwhelming cards, the best card art, individual cards for each person, and top 5 best cards to round us out. Hi guys, Kyle in the edit right now. We waffled forever about these 3 topics, and we really, really enjoyed it, and we hope that you guys do too as well. But so it's easier to digest, we're going to be splitting this down into a couple of videos. So this video, as I'm sure you can tell from the title, is top 5 most underwhelming cards. Well, the next one will be the best card art, along with the top 5 best cards individually from ourselves. So yeah, we really hope you enjoyed this content, and yeah, ding the bell to be able to find out when the next video goes live. Thanks, guys. Aiden, you explained underwhelming cards really well earlier. Could you kind of give everyone a rundown of what we've kind of based this on?
The top 5 most underwhelming / disappointing cards is less about their competitive viability per se, and more about maybe they're too situational, they're too niche, or maybe it's something about the design choice that upsets us, or maybe we were expecting something greater, aka almost every legendary in this set because the power level's gone down. You know, stuff like that. So it's a little bit more subjective. Well, they're both subjective, right? But top 5 most underwhelming is a bit less. This is the top 5 worst cards in the set, because otherwise it'd be all generic comments. This is more like, what do we expect more from? What's too situational to work?
Yeah. Well, let's get this underway. We're going to go over each person's first card individually. It will go, I believe, Aiden, myself, then Callum. So not in the order you're seeing us on the screen, but fuck it. And yeah, I suppose let's kick it off. So Aiden, your first card.
My
top
first
5
card.
most underwhelming. What the shit?
All right, so obviously this is probably my only choice out of the 10 or 11 we chose that has like no competitive analysis. Zilch. My reason for putting Ash in is, and it's more of it's a theming issue here, is looking at Ash, looking at the card art, and looking at a lot of the Ash related card arts, including the Ash wings. It's sand. Where's the Ash? Like, all right, you can be like, this is like fine Ash, like really fine, really fine Ash. But look, it's like a mountain of the ash.
It is.
You can see like the little rocks for reference. So it's clearly like a mountain of this ash. It's a sand dune. And like you look at some of the naming conventions in Dromai, and it's like, you know,
Ashwing.
Ashwing. So it's like, okay, we're expecting ash. She uses like she's in Volcor, right? So fire burns things. She uses the ash to make these dragon visages. So why is there sand? And then you might be like, well, you know, it's ash and it's just an artistic stylized preference. But then how do you guys explain Skittering Sands? A card literally called Skittering Sands. What?
You know what this card looks like to me, and this might be blasphemous or might be wrong to say on our first Flesh and Blood video. This looks like a land, don't you think?
It really looks like a land. It looks like a white land.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like a plains or a mountain or a forest that you've left out in the sunlight for like 10 years.
It's a sun-bleached land from Magic the Gathering.
And that's why Ash gets my vote for number 5, the most disappointing card from Uprising.
Yeah,
it's all theming. It's just broken the theme of Dromai for me.
I suppose if we're talking about Dromai as a hero, she doesn't work without it, but does that mean that they could cut corners potentially like they have here, and they've gone sand? What? But we want to call it ash. Like, it seems a little bit
maybe like
misguided.
I guess it's probably not going to impact your game too much, is it? Because it's going to be sat underneath most of your cards for
true.
half the game,
Yeah,
right?
at
the same time, like it's perfectly like, you know, rune chants to look cool, and that's the Rainbow players talking. But rune chants look cool.
Frostbites look cool.
Shields make sense. Frostbites look cool, but
and they're all in that theming. It makes sense.
Kind of make sense, right?
Whereas sandy dunes and this ash artist, it's like,
and it strikes me as like the art was done and it was like a desert and it was sand, and then they were like, oh no, it's supposed
change
to be
the
ash.
color.
They were like, okay, change the color slider, make it look more like ash.
I don't want to take anything away from this artist. It's a lovely sand dune. It's a fantastic white sand dune, but it just thematically doesn't make sense. Probably not. Okay, let's jump into the next one. 5 most underwhelming. Ghostly Touch. I think this card is kind of mid. And I feel like there are going to be certain situations, and this is what we were talking about in kind of it coming out, where this is just not played. And you're coming in with a new legendary, which Prism has the chance of playing as well. And there's just opportunities in certain matchups where people aren't going to be popping your shit. they're just gonna like jump into your face and just go for it. Maybe I'm completely wrong on this one. Maybe I'm missing the mark. The card art is fantastic. It looks like someone's going sheesh as a ghost. But yeah, I feel like there was something else they could have done. It feels like in certain games this is going to do absolutely nothing, and it's just going to sit there, not even blocking.
Spoiler alert. This is on my list as well.
It's also on my list.
Yeah, it's cracked a few places higher on my list actually. I think the card. I think the card like fulfills a niche and it fills a purpose, but it kind of when I saw it, it kind of struck me as a supplemental majestic equipment piece. Do you know what I mean? And the problem being with it that I think its power level is maybe a little bit weak, but in the situations that it's quite good. But then you actually look at the active effect and it's actually not that good. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's almost like when it works, but it doesn't even work that well. So
yeah.
Well, with what you were thinking about Drone Eye, right, Aiden, with if she's going to be playing this, and with a deck which may be 45 cards being red, the other 15 potentially being blue, or whatever that situation looks like in a very red line deck, pitching 3 to attack for this, for potentially 5, is just not good enough.
It's a steep cost. Obviously, I don't want to go into it too much, just because I will later as well.
Sure, yeah.
Let's card apart. But I do agree completely.
Let's move on. Let's move on, and we'll touch on that later down the line. So Callum, Crown of Providence. Okay.
Now this is good. I just took off Crown for this Ash, so I like this.
Yeah, I mean it's not to do with the card's design or anything like that. It's a generic headpiece, and I think we've got this. We've got Arcanite Skullcap. We are missing a lot of good slot cards for a lot of other classes, and I think we're pushing further and further away, like a bit of a gap between about 50% of the classes in the game and the other 50%. And I think this makes it pretty rough for some of the other classes in the game that are still playing.
Yeah, so true. Bravo is still running around with his Sports Direct bargain bin, like $7.99 flip flops, while we put the second legendary helm for the Runeblaze to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, like Dash is still playing Goliath Gauntlet, Brute is still playing Goliath Gauntlet. Like, it could have been so much better. Also, the other problem is it's not different enough from Skullcap. Like, it's a blocking headpiece. It has like an effect, but so does Skullcap. Skullcap has Arcane Barrier 3 on it as well, and an extra block. But like, both of them are defensive headpieces. This has like a sink blow effect. But I have an Arcanite Skullcap. I'm not going to rush out to buy this. But if there was like a legendary legs that I could use in Bolton or like something else, I'd be like, yeah, I might buy a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree completely. But the reason to justify maybe a second helm was if it changed the play style of the decks that could run the helm. Maybe it was like it influenced go tall or go wide. So maybe Briar would be like, oh, you know what? I'll use Crown of Providence instead of Skullcap here because like it makes more sense to my deck. But it doesn't offer any new play styles. It's just Skullcap 2.
Yeah, it's like a generic mini Crown of Seeds, right? And like I think a lot of what we've seen from headpieces is the interaction with the deck and stuff. And
it seems like a strong majority of headpieces, and maybe this is just the way it works. Arsenal interacting. You've got New Horizon, which is you get another Arsenal slot. You've got Crown of Seeds, which is get a card out of your Arsenal. You've got now Crown, which is get a card out of your Arsenal. I won't talk too much about this card, and you will see later why. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment on what you guys put across.
I'll be more than happy if I pull one of these. I think they are.
Oh no, for sure. No,
it's really cool. But it's just it's less necessarily an underwhelming card and more of an underwhelming choice that LSS made.
It's like what it represents, not literally its power level. Right?
Number 4.
Yes, eluvian constellus.
So we're currently 3 for 4 on legendaries in there.
Yes, and here's the thing. My top 5 disappointing was originally 3 legendaries, and I was like, I can't do that. Let's put Ash in there, right? So eluvian constellus. Immediately when I saw it, I wasn't very impressed. As I thought about it more, I got a little bit more impressed. But at the end of the day, it still comes back around to that whole legendaries in this set have a reduced power level. And even the best legendary in the set, which might be the Flamescale Furnace, still isn't overbearing in comparison to previous set legendaries. And while that, I don't think that's necessarily bad for the game. In fact, if we move forward and this is the new power level legendaries, I think it's great because it reduces the cost of entry for new players. They no longer need those legendary cards, right? But I come from a place of I want to build these decks. I'm used to a certain caliber of legendary that I've seen in the past for other classes why can't I, as a wizard player or a losers player, get the same respect? In terms of its power level, it's like it's not universally accessible, and it's only very good in Runeblade and Icelander matchups, really, from what I can see. I think, and then Kano doesn't even probably want to run it. Like, he'd use Tunic, and it's more flexible. In Icelander, it's very good in those matchups to get a 2 or 3 mana discount, and it incentivizes you for blocking Arcane Barrier in the right matchups, which you want to do anyway because Icelander plays a slow game. So the reason why this is like low on my underwhelming tier list is because if you're Icelander and you're playing against Runeblades or Icelander, this is a really good chess piece to have in your sideboard. But I think that because that's so niche, and if you're a Kano player, you're like, oh, great. Like
Icelander got basically an option for a legendary chess piece and a legendary helm, right? And Kano, we talk about the new wizard coming out or new illusionist coming out and hoping that it does something for the older classes in that class, and this set did basically nothing for Kano because he got a generic wizard equipment piece in his already, Tunic still is best in slot, and and the headpiece, like, Icelander could have had a nice chess piece and a wizard headpiece, and it would have benefited Kano as well. But I guess not.
Exactly that, yeah.
So yeah, my card, and this might cause some drama. Phoenix form.
Wow.
Callum's face lit up when this showed up, so I'm interested.
I tell you why my face lit up. It's because I didn't want to be the one to have the hot take that I didn't think this card was super crazy either.
Okay, so purely the reason I don't think this is as good and kind of underwhelming is that everyone looked at this card and said, "Oh, it's a Draconic Ninja Gloomveil, and it's like
Gloomveil. Yeah.
That one." It's just not. Like, getting that third effect off, sure, it's rare you do it in Swarming Gloomveil as well, but it's borderline never going to happen. Or if it does, the game's done anyway. Like, you need to control 3 Phoenix frames.
What I will say is, if this third effect goes off, it's way better than if Swarming Gloomveil's third effect.
I agree. I just don't feel like it's going to be consistent. Like, you are almost certainly getting the first one off, sometimes getting the second one off, but that requires some element of setup and for you to mill halfway through your deck to be able to get that next card.
We might be facing the problem of, obviously, we're talking before the set's out, and it might be easy to get the second effect off, and it might even be like once a game you get the third effect off, but like, to be fair, what I will say, 0 for 5 of Go Again is really good.
That is that's dash. So
if the 2 effects can come off, I mean, we've seen Swarming Gloomveil 0 for 4 with Go Again is good. Like, if the second effect can come off consistently enough, I'm happy to say this card is pretty good. But if this card consistently ends up just being a 0 for 3 with Go Again, then it's like,
there's cards which in Ninja and Draconic Ninja that already do this, right? So, no, I agree. And I feel like the main reason this is underwhelming is because of that knee-jerk reaction that it seemed like a lot of people have, where it was like, this is a new Swarming Gloomveil. And it's just... You
see a card printed with draw 3 cards on it, a lot of people are going to be pretty excited.
0.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I feel like there's going to be a situation where this card's going to pop off, but I don't feel like it's going to be as consistent as maybe people initially thought. Prove me wrong. Cool. Let's jump on to Callum's number 4. Oh, Tome of Firebrand.
Yeah,
spicy.
Yeah, we spoke about this a little bit. I kind of put this in here not necessarily to talk about Tome of Firebrand, but to talk about the amount of draconic non-attack / instant / attack reactions that we've seen. A lot of which seem to be pretty powerful, but I'm concerned at the density that they're going to come up in these decks and whether it's actually going to hurt the decks more than it helps them. I am aware that, like, you've got an attack action card that's recyclable in Phoenix Flame and stuff, but as a Runeblade player who's used to bricking, these sort of cards strike a little bit of concern for me when thinking about deck building.
I don't disagree. I feel like there's always that kind of orangey element when you're coming into cards like this. Like, cards like 3 of a Kind, like, are nuts. They are an amazing card. Yes, you've got me on video now saying that is a pop. That card pops up. But it's more the fact of card. I've also lost 2. I've been knocked out of 2 Pro Quests now by 3 of a Kind. That is what's happened. And annoyingly, it's the same player, but that's neither here nor there. And it's purely that element of you are basically relying your turn on whatever your deck looks like, and 9 times out of 10 you've not reached a pitch stack for you to be able to like change what that dynamic of the deck looks like. You are not choosing what cards exactly you aren't choosing what card you're going to be drawing here. You're not opting to be able to look at this sort of stuff. It's just not available. So I feel like this card actually has the opportunity to be insane. That 43 damage turn that I showed you guys in the group chat, utilized Tome of Firebrand, but it utilized Tome of Firebrand in the sense of you are drawing the best possible things you need in this instance, which it's just not happening. Like it's
I agree with the sentiment that Fire's going to be careful with deck building in the sense that there's a lot of these very persuasive instance and attack reactions that you go, oh my god, they're so good, I got to put them in, and then you'll just keep drawing an inconsistent hand that you can't play.
Like even bigger than that, like is there a world in which even bigger than that gets played in? I don't know. We don't know what the lists are going to look like yet, but like what I will say is
I'd find a way.
I made a judgment on this card before we saw the Draconic Legendary in the chess piece slot, right? And I think this card is way better if you don't have to pay for it. Obviously,
Draconic Fable.
Might need to temper your expectations a little bit.
For sure.
I had to resist my urge to put the Fabled in the top 5 underwhelming list, by the way.
Yes.
Wow, how interesting. How
But
interesting.
it's a Fabled, right? And I like the way that it's not amazing.
Cool. Let's jump to the next one. Aiden. Oh,
yes.
There's 2 cards. Hold up. What's going on here?
There's 2 cards, right? And one smaller for a reason. So my number 3 is the 3 cost dragons in Dromai. Vincerakai and Necria, right?
Well done.
So Vincerakai annoys me more than Necria. I can see a build where Necria works. But I put them both here because they both have one overarching issue for me, or rather overarching, which is a 3-cost dragon has the potential to be brilliant and the potential to adjust your blue count in a very red-heavy deck. If the 3-cost dragons were good, very good, you'd increase your blue count to justify playing them. And it's an excellent pitch versus what you should get out of a stat line for a 3-cost card. It's your blue card in the hand to play this dragon that should offer a great effect or a good stat line. And neither of these do. So Necria is a 4-7, but it's 4-6, right? And generates Ash. I genuinely, from what I've seen, Dromai doesn't have a major issue making Ash. Although, again, there could be a build where you go very Ash heavy and you stoke the Embers or whatever that card's called and make like a long string of these Ash Wings, in which case Necria has a home. But Vincerakai, I think, is absolutely dog. So Vincerakai, there is a home for him, I think, against Guardians and Brutes, where they have to use Guardians specifically, their 1 action point to kill a 1 health Vincerakai, which is really annoying for them. They're losing a lot of value. But I think in that matchup, he's poppable anyway. And as we know with Dromai, there's not a good way of getting rid of his Phantasm consistently. So I think he's too niche to run there. And against most other decks, his 1 HP is just too bad.
I definitely see the argument. My like comparison point with this card would be like something like a Command and Conquer, right? If you were to compare it to a Command and Conquer, we're looking at 1 resource more for for the same damage with an on hit, maybe not necessarily as good of an on hit, but so if like Command and Conquer, it pulls 2 cards out of the hand, there's already value in that. But also then it pulling an attack away from your face, there's value in that as well. Something like Ninja, obviously 1 damage is like, whatever. But like if I was playing like Chain or Viscera or something into this, I'd be like, well, I've got to swing my 3, 4, 5 attack card into this, like like because the base attack of the cards aren't, and you lose value in that. But I completely agree that like of the dragons is one of the weak ones.
And from what I've seen, Dromai running all dragons isn't a viable build, and in which case like these 3 costs don't make the cut. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, a 1 blue card pitch to play the dragon is brilliantly sort of simplistic in a hand where you want one of your cards to be blue.
It's unfortunate.
So if the stat line in effect justified their cost, it would be great.
It's unfortunate for another reason. These 2 are probably some of the better looking dragons. I love Red Eyes. I think Red Eyes is awesome. And Necrai, when we first saw him, because we first saw him with the cold foil Marvel that came out, and we were like, what the hell? Like this looks so cool. Like the bones reflected. They look brilliant, but I'm in kind of agreement, and I'm going to kind of lean on your experience of Illusionist and like auras and that sort of stuff, and what you've been thinking about in the deck. I'm not thinking about these cards right now because it's not an area which I'm like looking into too much. Like these mid-tier ones, with the exception of like 1, are just like there.
The best place he comes in is Guardian, where he does this huge like 9 damage, and they have to use at least an Anothos. They overkill him by so much, and it feels really bad for them. But he's still got that Phantasm issue. If you play Vincerica and you haven't got Passing Mirage or Mirror Guy, who's brilliant, then he's going to get popped, and that's your turn done. You spent all that resource. What I think how Jorimai plays is you set up a board control, Ashwing 1/1/1/1, 6 Ashwings, and then like a 2/4, 2/6, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think Vincerica or Necria justify their cost and their place in Jorimai, and it's disappointing.
Speaking about dragons,
Yep.
Dracona Optimi. This cost way too much. It is a 6 cost in a borderline redline deck. It looks awesome. It looks amazing. I think the Marvel is fantastic. It has the opportunity to be absolutely insane and potentially deal, what we're looking at, 12 damage in a single turn. But it's that potential.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, Optimi was in my list too for being underwhelming, which is a shame for being a legendary dragon. You think these 3 are going to be like, oh, they're going to come and they're going to destroy and they're going to be amazing. Optimi, I don't think is playable in the first cycle. I think you need to pitch stack him. And then when you do, your deck is mostly just blues anyway, which means his actual effect is reduced in power. So I think, there's a lot of issues with Optimi. He almost just doesn't even make it in the deck, being this legendary dragon, which is sad, right? I did have Optimi in the list instead of the 3-cost dragons. I just thought, because we were talking about it's a bit more subjective, underwhelming, not necessarily just the worst. I swapped him around. So I agree completely with your analysis.
Would you argue that this is less underwhelming and more just the worst dragon then? Like, kind of, not to put words in your mouth, but...
I don't think he's the worst dragon. I genuinely think probably one of the 2 I mentioned, Necria or Vincerica, are probably the worst dragons. All the dragons are pretty... My quick analysis on Jorimai is all the dragons are good. It's how she strings them together that doesn't work.
Basically, I'm quite surprised that the legendary dragons made it into the list, because I kind of thought that like people might just play like 1 of each invocation, or like 2 of like the best ones invocation or something like that, and just like it be some like high roll thing where in a game if it goes off it's like super powerful, and like
that is 100% what you do.
Just the cost, honestly. It's the main thing. I feel like there's...
It's like when I talk about the playability and the fact you need to get to your second pitch cycle to really play him, and then your deck's all blue and you're not getting his effect.
And we're coming from a meta which we do not get to your pitch cycle. We're coming from that meta, so we're kind of like in the mentality of the games don't go on that long. If they go on that long, it's because it's fatiguing, and we're not actually going to be seeing the bottoms of those decks due to like certain decks like Dash or certain decks like
depending on like
Chain.
The density of Frostbite in the meta, it might be.
I think the meta will slow down.
Yeah,
it might be a case that like these decks aren't as like red dense as people think. It might be that there's like another 5 or 10 blues in the decks that people expect, but just to compensate with these things, because if you're playing like a 1-cost card, right, that like, and you need to have a red in your pitch zone, like that's what like the cards ask for, right? How many are you gonna have to pitch to, like, do you know what I mean? Like, how many do you have to pitch to like compensate for the frostbite? So like,
what I will say like about Optimi is again, I agree that you just run every legendary dragon, and if you get it off at a good time, it's great. If not, it blocks 3 still, the invocation. Like,
they do.
Like,
but this is about like what's disappointing or underwhelming. I think for like a legendary dragon, you can have one of, and him being the highest cost, like the biggest, baddest boy, I think he is a bit underwhelming to be the worst of those legendary dragons.
Fair enough.
Cool. Callum. Or burn them all.
Yes, mate. Get in there, my son.
This is one that I knee-jerk reaction went, this card's busted, and didn't read the card properly. So everyone was talking about how this card sucks, and I was like, are you on crack? I was like, this card is insane, but no, it's 1 arcane damage a turn. Meh, to me.
Oh my god, he's once per turn!
Yes.
Yeah.
This card sucks!
Yes, that's exactly what everyone did. Genuinely. Yeah. I did it, Callum did it, everyone in the CBS chat did it.
Yeah, like, so I think the card's kind of interesting because like there's just, I was looking through like the Draconic Illusionist stuff today, and like there's kind of a lot of like pretty decent red non-attack action cards with Go Again that you can just play to have played a red card. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't need to like play this aura that does 1 damage a turn, and then like you also banish your like reds. Like it's whatever. Like you just don't need
Completely
discard.
agree.
Guys, I was
Do you know
this
what I mean?
close to putting this in my top 5 best cards, like because
Really?
I misread
That
it
would've
again.
been
Yeah,
funny.
that would have been insane. Yeah, once per turn means that this card is absolutely dog.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
completely resonate with what you guys are saying. Jump on to the next one. Tome of
Yes,
Duplicity.
Tome of Duplicity. This is kind of a fringe card. Obviously, not many people talk about it. Again, I had to find the screenshot from the guy's video. That's no one cares about Tome of Duplicity, but it is a Wizard Majestic, and I just don't really get it. And obviously, I'm not this mega brain wizard player like our other fellow member in this call. With I guess the intention because it's generic wizard, it was usable for Kano, but it just isn't. It costs 3. Blocks 2, pitches blue. And if you read the effect, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, you can banish one of them and play it at instant speed, but it costs 3.
If it's
So
a
you
non-attack
are
action
paying-
card, you may play it at this turn as if
Yes,
it was an
yes.
instant. So you get
So
to
you're
have
paying the
Kano.
cost of a Kano anyway to play this card, and then Kano out of 2 options, right? And then you still have to pay for that card. So what is the optimum scenario that you're finding to play this card? I just don't get it. It costs so much for what
You
it
are
does.
basically like equivalently. You may as well imagine this card was any blue because it's blue, right? We see it's blue.
Yes.
This card could be any blue. You pitch this card and the blue that you were going to pay to play this card, and you get a better effect because you get to
And
banish
it's
both
only
the cards.
slightly better.
Like,
Yeah.
like the only scenario in which this is better is if like the top card of your deck isn't a wizard non-attack, isn't a
Exactly that.
non-attack action that you can banish off Kano, and like you just won't. That won't be the case because the deck's not
Yeah,
built like
that's
that. Right?
not how you build the deck. And then like you might, it's the benefit of having 2, so being like, oh, I really need Sonic Boom here. I somehow have 5 bloody resources to work with. I really need Sonic Boom here. And then you reveal the top 2 and hope you find Sonic Boom. What if they're 2 blue cards?
Yep.
Oh, brilliant! Thanks.
Yeah,
Paying 3
it's
for
just-
literally nothing.
Yeah. Could you imagine playing this card and drawing, like, having, like, worst case scenario, 2 blue zaps? Like, oh, cool. I paid 3 to
Paid 3
1
for that.
damage
Exactly.
to use. Like, come on. I mean, it pops a dragon. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think Tome is bad, and this is one of my because the list is underwhelming and disappointing, so it doesn't necessarily mean bad. Like
I
but
feel like we
think
can change it for that.
It's literally bad.
Yeah.
I think it's just
if this card read like the exact same effect and it said you may play at this turn as though it was an instant, and if it deals arcane damage, it deals 2 more. Like
Yes, it's a pump,
then maybe it's
right?
playable. Maybe it's playable, but like
exactly that.
Still,
So
like,
this takes my number 2 because it is the one of my consideration for one of the most unplayable cards, and it's a majestic quality card.
Yep.
Maybe I just don't get wizards. I'll be happy to be like, if someone's like puts like a paragraph, you need to, and I'll be like, oh no, yep, you're right. I put my little toe in the wizard pool to like sort of understand.
We played
Take
against it a
sip
lot
from the
as
wizard
well.
Pool. Yeah, we played against it. I built him in Blitz for a bit. We get a good analysis from our friend who plays Kano. And he thinks it's god awful as well.
So,
and again, I don't think it works in Icelander either. So it's just,
safe assumption, I would say. Next card, let's jump into it. Oh, we've seen this one before.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. When I first saw this card, I initially said, this card sucks. And I still think it does suck. The fact that you can only get 1 counter a turn, and realistically you get that from Tunic, it takes 1 less turn of full blocking for you to, of at least blocking something to be able to get a counter to be able to activate this than it does Tunic. And in a deck like Kano, who might want to run a chess piece that isn't Tunic if the right legendary appeared, this is not that one. And this could very much have been anything else, and it would have just probably been better.
What? If this card had read something like, imagine a world where this card doesn't have arcane barrier, right? But it just has the text like, the first time you would be dealt arcane damage each turn, prevent 1 damage that source would deal, and put a counter on this card, or something like that. Like
Much better.
like a one free AB, like
That's
or
quite,
something
isn't
like that would be pretty crazy into like Runeblade
Pretty
or
good.
like Wizard or something, and like it would actually like have a place. It still wouldn't be played in every matchup, right? Because not every deck deals arcane damage.
Kano
Yeah.
won't even want to use
No,
it.
Kano won't use it. Kano will use Tunic, and this comes back to what you were saying, kind of about the generic legendaries just being better than certain other cards, which are potentially tailored for decks. So yeah, we've already talked about this. I don't feel like we need to spend too much time on it. Callum, you're number 2. Ghostly Touch.
Yeah.
What were your take on this one?
No, I mean we've spoken about it already. It's a bit of a similar situation. I don't know if we've mentioned, but like none of us knew each other's lists before we went into
Yes,
this.
yeah.
So like obviously we've there's some overlap here, but I think it's kind of interesting that there's not been the exact same 5 cards between all 3 of us. It shows that like we've maybe interpreted what's going to happen next format a little bit differently from each other. But
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious when a card's power level is a bit lower than what we're used to. And I think when, like we spoke about the other day in our chat, that when you compare cards like this and the Wizard chess piece and a couple of the other legendaries to existing cards like Spellbound Creepers, Carrion Husk, Crown of Seeds, all these other cards, you're like, does it make the cut for a legendary equipment piece?
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Cool. Aiden. Oh, would you look at that?
Would you believe it? It's ghostly touch. So I'm not going to talk about how badly weird and niche it is. The only matchup I could see this being ran is Guardian and your plan, because they'll just
Brute?
or end your turn every turn. Maybe Brute. Yeah, I think it's slightly better for Guardian because they don't have scab skin leathers.
True. No, yeah. True.
Because I think that's. But basically, like.
And Sand Sketch plan.
Oh, God, yeah. Bloody hell! Calm down.
So the idea of this like ghost bonk. I don't know what's actually called. That's a good name. Yeah, this ghost bonk deck is like you play all these phantasm. Your dragons get popped, and then you slowly drain their resources. You build up ghostly touch, and then you pass in mirage or semblance, that new majestic, and then you swing like this 20 damage ghost, 19 damage ghost, and then you just kill them. Right? But does that even work? And it's so niche. And
until that happens, like this, you've literally got like an equipment slot that's doing nothing.
Exactly. And like ignoring how badly weird, niche, and just crap it is, I think this really encapsulates an issue with Dromai, which is why I put it in number one, because it both is bad and it also represents something bad, which is Dromai has some brilliant dragons, some really good cards, but doesn't have the glue to make them work. Like she needed a piece of equipment that did something to negate Phantasm or to protect her dragons or something like that, which justifies this play style. And she just didn't get it. Yeah. I think that's why people look at the dragons and go like, these are ridiculous, these are really good. And people aren't making it work. People are going, Dromai isn't working. She's the worst of three heroes. People might not have just cracked her yet, but also I don't think the glue's there to make Dromai work. I think there are so many holes in Dromai's plan, and we needed a good legendary or a good piece of equipment to plug at least one of those holes, and we didn't get it.
Like I say, obviously we're making these judgments before the set's out and stuff, but what we also saw on the set is like another fantastic generic 6-power card in a race face, right? We've got Command and Conquer already. You're talking about like decks that don't play 6-power cards. Now it's actually not like a big trade-off for them to have to play them because the quality of the 6-power cards is really high anyway. So
exactly,
you've also got like some pretty reasonable cards in that Fyendal's, what was it called? The yellow Fyendal Strike.
Your Fyendal's like True Strike, whatever it is.
Yeah. Like that card's pretty reasonable, even if you have to attack with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's options to the point where it's like, there's big trade-off of like decks that don't play 6-power cards. You should be kind of able to get away with murder in these illusionist decks, but now it doesn't feel like you can.
Yeah, that is my biggest issue with dragons, is the fact that you I think not being able to block for your allies in some capacity is the worst part. And because I think popping them and not having a way to deal with that is kind of okay. Like put Mirror Guy in or pass a Mirage, or just get sacrificed. That's the cost of Illusionist, is Phantasm. But letting every single ninja get their mom trigger when they want it, letting every erudition go through because the player says so, and you being able to do nothing about that is so critically bad. Say you put like a dragon down that's offering you 3 HP and a decent hit. If Viscerai plays a red Maureen Skies and hits that dragon, he's made that value back immediately. Yeah. And that's not even a great example of some of these crazy on-hits the decks can run.
I am really, really excited to see what people do and what you do as well with Dromai, to see how there is ways to be able to crack this deck, because I feel like she has the potential to be so good, but it's how do you make it that good? And you're completely right about not having the glue. Or is it there and we're just not putting the pieces together because they're not in they're not in a tangible format like FabDB or something like that. My number one.
Drink to that.
Well, you might not want to drink to this one. Coronet's Peak.
Whoa! Whoa, that's a hot take.
So this is coming from a place of fury and less about the card. Do not give Lexi a bloody ice headpiece she cannot use because she has to run New Horizon. Give me something else, for the love of Christ. I don't think this card is bad. However, I also don't think it's great, because there is a card that already exists that does the exact same thing as this, and I also have Chilling Ice Vein to do it for me. This card has no place in Lexi. It will never be run in Lexi. If it is running Lexi, I'll be very, very surprised. And I'll buy one and I'll build the deck, because if someone's running it in Lexi and they're doing it in a good fashion, it means that I've just not realised something. I think the art is fantastic. I think It is a card, is a cool concept. It does not fit in the deck that I'm going to be playing in. Icelander
Maybe you
will run
should,
it though.
Maybe you should beat Yuki to the punch and like build the Lexi deck that plays this
That
card.
plays this card.
baby.
Because like,
God.
there might be a world in which you just like shoot one arrow, shoot one
Shoot
or
one
two
arrow,
arrows a
pitch
turn,
three.
create like a load of frostbites. I don't know,
But this
yeah,
is the issue
I
in
think-
Lexi, right? Is that she just doesn't have the resources to be able to do this. It costs 3. Like she already struggles to get cards out because every single arrow minimum that has some form of on hit from ice is costing 2 because you have to load it with Volta. What then preceded that comment was about 2 minutes of flame directed towards Lexi players, and I will not subject you to that. Yeah, I mean the takes were fair. The 2 cost is usually fine. I just need an excuse. So there you go. We'll move on.
we can cut this if you want. But anyway,
Any
I
Lexi
think
flame I'm cutting from this video. Don't you worry about it. So
the
Too
problem
right.
is what you need to remember is this card doesn't read Ranger equipment head.
no,
right? This
it's
card
ice
reads
equipment. You're
ice
completely
equipment.
right. But then,
Like,
then
and there's
this
been
is-
like more egregious like examples of this thing happening before, right? Where like
Right.
Valiant Dynamo comes out and Dorinthia looks at it and goes, "Why?"
But here's the thing,
please?"
so
like,
Oldhim
but,
isn't
like,
running this card. That's the thing. So 3 ice heroes that now exist in the format. Starvo's gone. Starvo wouldn't run this card anyway. 3 ice heroes that still remain: Lexi, Icelander, and Oldhim. Oldham's running Cloud of Scenes until the cows go home. He's
Clown
not
of Seas.
Clown of Seas. He's not touching this. Lexi physically cannot run this card if she wants to continue playing the playstyle that she currently is with a double Arsenal zone and be able to go aggro heavy. So this now just leaves Icelander. And for Icelander, and this is why I 100% go back on everything I've said, for Icelander, this is probably the only opportunity she's got to have a decent piece of head equipment because it blocks 2 and it does an alright effect in an already very heavy blue line deck. So this is just
card didn't
additional ways to do
exist, she'd
something.
still have like Skullcap and this.
She still have Skullcap, she still have
Yeah.
Providence, but it just gives her the option.
Yeah,
Like,
I get where the frustration comes from, but I think
it's also a bit of a meme
I
to put it in.
respect your
but
passion as a Ranger player to go, fuck this guy.
get it gone. How dare you bring this
Specifically
shit
to
here.
get-
Exactly. Fuck this card.
But it's not going to hold him either. So for the ice talent, it's weird.
Right.
Heroes aren't going to use it.
I mean, it literally has
wisely,
Icelander in it, but like-
obviously Crown of Seeds is just so much better. That's the issue.
Yeah.
It's not bad for holding.
However-
Crown of
yeah,
Seeds
I mean that is the thing about the Aria heroes being dual element, right? There are
yeah.
going to be future examples where there's like a new lightning arms and like there's a deck that would rather play shock charmers than the new lightning arms. Like you can't really
Very true.
complain about the fact that you've got options. Do you know what I mean?
However, this does
Agreed.
break the cycle that LSS have done. It is going to be played by the hero that's on the card art. We have
my
consistently
God.
seen cards do better in decks that do not have the hero in the card art. Remorseless is arguably better in Lexi than it is in Azalea because Azalea is just bad. And Oakenold was played in Starvo and was more influential in Starvo than it was Oldhim, and it literally has him on the front.
Starvo, man. I
That's
think
just
Starvo
Starvo.
is just
But anyway,
influential, more influential than-
let me not tilt myself even more over this card. It's a lovely card. I think the art's awesome. It was great to see that someone pulled this over today, actually, date of
This
recording.
is the one
so.
card that I've seen out of this set where if I pull this card, I will make the hero. That this
Really?
card is
That's
played.
that's really
Like,
cool. That's really
love
cool.
that.
I
Yeah.
love this card. I think it looks amazing. I think the opportunity for a wizard to be able to play
Yep.
a 2-block card is like so good. Like
It's amazing
I
for
think-
Icelander.
I
It's
think-
amazing for
and
him.
I think
Yeah,
I
I agree,
think
I
I think the
quite like
card's like actually like really balanced as well. I mean,
I
I could be
agree.
completely wrong.
No,
but, like,
I
think,
agree
like,
completely.
like I think the card looks on paper fantastic. The balance
Yeah.
looks amazing.
I just think it's better than average as well. It's like we were saying. It's like you're forcing your opponent to play it in 3, with the downside that it uses your action point. But I mean, Icelander plays in her opponent's turn at instant speed.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. If
It's
she's
also-
playing for
It's
3
gotta be
arcane
pretty-
damage and makes frostbites and then discarding your card on her turn. That's probably a fine turn.
It's got to be pretty good with like 1 blade break. So the
Yeah.
fact that it's got 2,
It's
Yeah.
got two.
is
Just gives
better.
that additional thing for Wizard, for sure. Okay, let's jump
Correct.
into Callum's number 1. Oh my god!
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, this is where I said to you guys before this that like there was a couple of things in this that were a bit of a meme, but yeah.
You're right.
Why was it
Starfire
needed?
Scar.
The
It just
random-
wasn't
Why?
required.
I went on a rant to Finley, the Kano player in our group, about this the other night. Like this has really frustrated me that this card exists in this set.
Did this get printed in HP1, by the way?
This is the 4th printing of Scar for a Scar,
Yeah.
by the way. So it's Ira Welcome deck, Welcome to Wraith, History Pack, and now Uprising.
It was in History Pack.
Why?
It was a
Why?
mystery pack.
Why?
What are you
Yeah, it's in the
doing?
staple. It's in the staple slot, right? Why
Yeah.
do we need Was there something like purely wrong with balance in the drafting of this set that they needed to include like a generic attack action? Or
I wonder.
like,
I wonder if there
like
was like an original card with the ID they had here, and they had a sudden mind change, and were like, "We don't have time to make a new card and get
Yeah, I
new
was
art.
like-
Let's put
moment.
Scar for Scar back in."
it's like I was joking to Finley the other night that like someone in like the printing factory accidentally slipped and pressed the wrong button when they printed the code for whatever this ends up being,
Yeah.
because we haven't even got the code here. This is the Welcome to Wraith printing of Scar for a Scar on the screen, but like whatever it is, UPR 176 or whatever it ends up being, like surely that should have been
A different
something
card.
else.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Surely.
I'd be
But,
interested to see what
hey,
their
if it
response is
goes,
to that.
if going forward, like we end up with like every set has like one blinking common reprint, and like
Why?
I would have been happy. I would have been happier if this was like sync below. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what I
I
have just
agree.
noticed, by the way, it looks like Ira is using Seer Emberblade. So
maybe.
there you go, and it looks like Volker in the background. So I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like
Holy
thematically
smokes.
that she is from the same region.
Fyra.
Fyra, God,
Draconic.
don't give them
Yeah,
fucking
we need
ideas.
another draconic ninja, don't
Yeah,
we?
let-
Yeah, it's just like it's kind of like a silly take, but
No,
I think
it's a fair one.
Well, yeah, it's,
Pretty
like I
lame.
said, it's not about the worst cards, it's about what's underwhelming and disappointing.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
a fourth reprint of Scar for Sky is certainly
straight after a reprint set.
Yeah, definitely.
Awooga.
Hey, thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, this is the first episode done. We will be posting the next episode very, very soon, and that will be covering the best art along with our top 5 cards from Uprising. If you have liked, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and please do give us any form of feedback inside of the comments. Constructive, ideally, but if you do just want to scream at us and tell us that we're shit, then that's, I suppose, your opinion. I might delete your comment, but who knows? Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. She already struggles to get cards out because every single arrow minimum that has some form of on hit from ice is costing 2 because you have to load it with Volta.
We can cut this bit out because this is not Uprising talk, right? But we'd had this conversation at at the LGS on Monday night when I played this consistent Ranger complaint that all my attack actions cost 1 more than every other class, right? Like it's not actually like a genuine complaint you can make because
it's not,
like
but
all of the cards, right, fit like the standard rate of like 0 for 4, 1 for 5, 2 for 6, or whatever you want to call it, right? You pay an extra 1 to be able to give it go again or +1 or whatever, and now the card is actually, you know, if you've got like a Red Chilling Ice Vein with an on hit and it costs you 2 for 5 with go again, that's pretty good. Like that's fine.
Yes,
Like that's
true.
like but hey, anyway, that's irrelevant.